Hey everybody, Neo Flynn, back once again with another collection video. This time we're going to be taking a look at another modest one, my Super Nintendo collection. I have a few of them. Not as many as I probably would like, but, you know, a decent amount. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with my boxed ones. You guys probably saw this in my room tour. And I'm actually strangely proud of these just because I think it's really cool to have all three of them boxed complete. And there's a funny story. These got traded in back when I worked at GameStop, and something else got traded in. Oh, it was the CDX that I actually have, I think, if I'm remembering the story correctly. And both my friend and I were like, okay, who gets it? You know, who gets to buy it? And somehow we struck a deal that I would get it if I gave him my AV cables to my Sega Saturn, because I think for whatever reason he didn't have his AV cables for his Sega Saturn. So I gave those up and then got the luxury of getting at least the CDX. I don't remember if these were part of it or if I just bought these when they came in. I don't remember, but anyway, a little side story there. And that is the Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi boxed complete. Sadly, the boxes have gotten a little bit dinged up through the years, but still, boxed complete Super Nintendo games. You don't see that very often. And these are actually Uber complete. In fact, the Super Star Wars still has the plastic wrap on the cartridge. And of course the manual, and even the little pack-ins with a Nintendo Power advertisement with it on a can of, can of soup. So, and box complete. And actually, in looking at these now, I remember how much fun I had playing them back then. And so I think what I'm going to do is do a Let's Play of these at some point, coming up in the near future. Just because I really did have a blast playing them back in the day, and I think it would be fun to go back and revisit them. So look for that coming up, because I'll definitely do it. So let's get right into the meat of my loose SNES. First up, Dirt Tracks with an X, FX. If you guys remember when Nintendo came out with the FX chip, I think Star Fox was the first one to use it. And yeah, this was one of the other ones that used it. That and Mode 7 were their big things. Mode 7 it allowed it, I don't remember exactly, but it allowed it to kind of rotate smoothly around, and the NHL Stanley Cup was one of the games that featured that, and there was an NCAA basketball game that featured the Mode 7 too. And Pilot Wings, I think, was another one that used it. But yeah, kind of technology that they were touting back then is, this is super awesome, check it out. And, it wasn't as awesome as they said it was. But next up, a classic, Super Punch-Out!, one of my all-time favorite games. My buddies and I at GameStop, we used to have a SNES hooked up in the back, and this game was in it all the time. And we were always trying to beat each other's times, knocking out, Glass Joe in 1 second or something. When you could pull it off. And just talking about this one, that's Pilot Wings. Yeah, really great game back in the day. One of those flight games that we take for granted nowadays, but back then there wasn't a lot of that kind of stuff going on. Next up, another classic you have to have, Super Mario Kart. That is one I am missing from my 64 collection that I was talking about. Definitely need the 64 Mario Kart. I have no idea why I own this game. Quite possibly one of the worst games ever. Shaq Fu. Like I said, I don't know why, but there you go. And I was talking about this one with the Mode 7, and that is Stanley Cup. And I actually loved Stanley Cup back in the day. I actually got in an argument with my brother at one point because he saw me playing, and I was playing the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. And he goes, "Why do they have the Mighty Ducks in there? That's not a real team." And I go, "Yes, it is. They made it, after the movie came out, they based an NHL franchise on it." And I think to this day he still doesn't believe me that they're a real team, even though the Mighty Ducks are still, well, they're not the Mighty Ducks anymore, they're just the Anaheim Ducks. But when they first came out, they were the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, and they were based on the movie. Well, not based on the movie, but named after the movie. Next up, Uniracers. For some reason, I love this game. You know, it's so simple, but it's so fun to play. Virtual Bart. You know, the Simpsons were huge back then, and they still are today. So they based a lot of games. You know, there was Bart versus the Space Mutants on the original NES. Virtual Bart. On the Super Nintendo, there was a lot of Simpsons games running around out there. Kirby's Dream Course. This is another one. Fond memories of this one. My buddy and I that used to come over to my house all the time. We were best buds back then. We still are today. And I remember we were playing that game, and one of our favorite series back then was Mystery Science Theater, and I think we had watched the movie that night or something. And there's a part in the movie where they go into these tube things, and one of the things the Mystery Science Theater guys say is they say something, and they'll go, "I'll put you in the bitch transformer." And somehow we got started on, while playing Kirby's Dream Course, somehow it became, you know, everything we did to each other was, "I'll put you in the bitch transformer." So we stayed up, you know, we were up, you know, late at night. You think things are funnier than they really are. So we kept, you know, every time it was like, "I'll put you in the bitch transformer," we just die laughing. So there's a little glimpse into my childhood back in the day. Next up, Bill Walsh College Football. Does this one have a year? No, it doesn't. Obviously, look behind me. You guys know I'm a college football fan. So that's one you gotta have. This is another one of those that's a polarizing game. Rise of the Robots. For whatever reason, back then I thought this game was great, and looking back on it now, I'm like, why did I ever like that game? And there was so much hype around this thing and how amazing it looked with these robot fighters, and you look back on it now and you're just like, really? Did we really fall for that? Because the game is not that good. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things, one of those gaming history type things. Next up, obviously, gotta have it, Super Mario World. Don't need to tell you anything about that game, you already know. Like I said, I love wrestling games, and this is WWF Raw, back when it was WWF. Okay, you look at some of the guys on here. That's pretty funny. Razor Ramon and Diesel, Luna Vachon. Those are some memories for you. I don't remember if that one was actually very good or not, but anyway. Another classic, Mario Paint. Nintendo trying to do something different, as Nintendo's been known to do. And I used to actually love messing around with Mario Paint. And it's really funny, you go on YouTube now, and something that, you know, back in the day was really kind of cool was the music creator that was in this. And you go on YouTube now, and people have done all kinds of stuff with the Mario Paint music creator. Stuff that sounds just like the song they're doing, yet they make it with Mario Paint. It's really amazing. Do a search sometime for Mario Paint, you know, music creator, and just look, there's an awesome version of Thriller on there, all kinds of stuff. Revolution X. I love this game in the arcade. This is one my friend and I. There was a place we used to go to. It's called Nickelcade. Basically, it was an arcade. You paid $2 or $3, I think it was, to get in. And then after that, all the games cost, you know, like 1 nickel or 2 nickel. All the game ran on nickels. So you could spend hours in there and not spend that much money. And we sat at the Rev X machine one time. I don't know how much money we pumped in there. And we beat it. And, of course, we didn't save all the members of Aerosmith, so we didn't get the real ending. I found that out later. You have to save them all. You have to know where they are, shoot in the right place when you're going through the game to save them all. This one I own on the N64 and the Super Nintendo. That's NBA Hang Time. You guys have heard me talk. I love the series, so that's one I gotta have. And I'm gonna speed this up just a little bit because we're running out of time. And next up we have Ren and Stimpy Vidiots. I used to love Ren and Stimpy back in the day. It's funny, I was actually on Xbox, the Netflix on Xbox, looking at the instant queue, and they actually have Volume 1 of Ren and Stimpy on there. I actually fired it up for a minute just to revel in the old schoolness that was Ren and Stimpy. Next up, Tiny Toon Adventures Wacky Sports Challenge. It's actually a lot of fun. Tiny Toon Adventures. Just a few more here. And next up we have the Super NES Super Scope 6. Sadly, I had a Super Scope, but I was missing the little receiver thing, and then when I moved, I either left it behind or I don't know what happened to it, but I don't have it anymore. So I need to, I don't know if I need to scour eBay and try and find one. Because I definitely need the Super Scope. But I have the game already, so there's that. Next up, Super Off-Road. I loved Off-Road on NES. That's another one I need to add to my NES. And I love the Super Off-Road on Super Nintendo too. Next up, Looney Tunes B-Ball. You know, it's actually a lot of fun to play that one. And you guys have heard me talk about Paperboy and how much I love it, so Paperboy 2 on the Super Nintendo. Another great game. And Mortal Kombat. You guys heard me talk about this in the Sega CD when I was talking about Night Trap, and Mortal Kombat was another one that, you know, they're like, oh my goodness, look how awful this game is, and we're letting our kids play this, and, you know, how dare we? This stuff needs to be regulated, and thus we had, you know, what we had today is the ESRB and the rating system. And actually, you know, one that I don't have in my collection anymore, Mortal Kombat 2, I remember that being the first game that I ever tried. I actually had a reservation on it. They let me reserve the game. Then the day the game came out, I think I was 15 or 16 at the time. The day the game came out, I tried to go buy it, and they wouldn't sell it to me because it was mature rated. And they're like, you have to have a parent, you can't buy this. I'm like, but I have a reservation. You gave me the reservation. Why can't I buy this stupid game? So I had to come back with my brother and have my brother buy the game so that I could go home and play Mortal Kombat. It wasn't like they were going to stop me from playing the game. My parents didn't care, but it was just, you know, it was one of those things. That's my first memory of ever, you know, being able to not buy a game because of the ratings. And last but not least, Championship Pool. You know, pool games, they're a game that never gets old. I was telling the story about Lunar Pool in the NES collection, about Maximo Mardi saying, hey, you know, that's the style of game I would want to have. If I could only have one game, you know, I'd have a pool game because, you know, replayability is huge. So I remember how good or bad this one was. I'll have to fire it up and see. I don't know if you guys could hear that. The ice cream truck just drove by, so I guess that's my cue to end this video. And like I said, hopefully you guys are enjoying these collection videos. I will definitely keep them coming. I got the big ones coming up, so stay tuned for those, and hope you guys are enjoying it. Thanks a lot, guys.